of time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are in our faith. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are in our faith. Now I believe there comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by faith. Now I believe. There comes a time when everything just falls in line. We live and learn from our mistakes. The deepest cuts are healed by
if you want, you're always welcome to join us. But anyway, so this is going to be, all our shows are wonderful, and I like the fact that they're very diverse, right?
Yes.
But let me welcome onto this screen my co-host Judy Marlowe. She's got Andrew, her husband, with her laptop, and
Nice.
we worked on Zoom yesterday, and we're rocking and rolling. Hi, Judy.
Hi, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. You were back with us, but
I was there, only
Yeah.
on the telephone.
I know. So it's wonderful to see you again, and technology keeps blowing me away that we could all be. Judy could be in Long Island, Kelly could be in Pennsylvania, Ann could be in Long Island, Jim's in Long Island, I'm in New Jersey, and we're all in each other's presence. So
All connected.
All connected. So it's a wonderful thing. So welcome to the show. This is really an important show. It's called Pearls of Wisdom and the Journey of a Caregiver. Ann and I have been working on Pearls of Wisdom for a long time, but I'm going to let Ann share with what it is. And they're both returning guests to our show. So thank you, Ann, for coming on the show once again. Thank you, Kelly, for joining us once again. And thank you to Jim for streaming it for us. This is really an important show because sometimes we forget about our elders. And that's really why Ann wanted to do, oh gosh, if you could see outside my window, there's a dove sitting looking at me. I got to take a photo.
That's a blessing from God.
There's a dove outside my window. There's a dove.
I love it.
You gotta capture the moment. You gotta capture the moment.
We have two in our yard.
That's
almost daily.
Send me that picture when you get a chance, Renee.
Oh, I see it. Okay. That blows me away. Anyway, and that's a message from God, right? As we all just said, he's flying away now. That he is here with us as we're doing our work, and God, we're blessed. So, and then Kelly, as most of you know, who watched our show, Kelly and I work together as property managers. And I say this all the time, that one of the blessings for that job was to interact with Kelly, because everything happens in your life for a reason. And Kelly and I met, and we really bonded very quickly, and we supported each other. And then after I left that position, and I think she left as well. Her mother suffered a stroke. So I don't know why we had to come together, but then she came on a couple shows and was talking to Tracy Lawrence about, help support in her mother's journey. So that's where the caregiver journey comes in. But let's start with Anne. Welcome to the show, everyone, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Renee. Thank you so much, Judy. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So much
Yeah,
gratitude. Thank you.
you're very welcome. We're all in this together. So, Anne, tell us a little bit about yourself for those that are, new on the show, and then tell us a little bit about the Pearls of Wisdom, which is just a beautiful title.
Yeah. So for me, everything is a God thing. We're all connected to people that we're supposed to, either for a lesson or a blessing. And what had started out as just something as simple as me wanting to create something, as a legacy or to help other people, has just evolved. So I left my job at the law firm. I wanted to create something that was going to make a difference. And I also left for 1 year to take care of my mom. My mom lived here with me. She came in to help me when I got divorced, and now it was my turn to help her. And I thought, in the span of 1 year, I can create this, and this will happen. Well, 1 year turned into too many years. I just got like literally sucked into this vortex, and I realized at the end of the journey what was missing for me, and there was a huge spiritual component missing for me, and I didn't even know that self-care and self-compassion and self-love was a thing. And then I had written my book, I won an award, and I started speaking because I found myself, Renee, at times in the middle of the night, just really needing somebody to talk to. And of course, I had my prayer, I had my meditation, and I began journaling. And I realized that journaling for me was extremely therapeutic. It was very, very healing, because whatever I was thinking and feeling, instead of feeling guilty about it, I would put it on paper, and it became real in time and space. And then I could look at it and I can say, okay, what is this energy telling me? If I'm angry, if I'm guilty, if I'm frustrated, if I'm stressed, how can I recreate that energy and use it for my good and for my mother's good? So that for me was one piece of the journey. And as I began to talk to other women, it became so much more than just, where can I find an aid? How can I, get the legal stuff in order, the medical stuff? It became a spiritual journey in that there were relationships that needed healing within sibling relationships, huge piece of it. So I talk about that in the book a little bit too. Self-care wasn't even a thing. Like, these women I was finding had a personality where I would talk to them about self-care, and Judy, Renee, Kelly, they honestly didn't even know that that was a thing, or that they really needed to take on self-compassion, self-love, self-care, because you can't pour from an empty cup. And then in addition to that, like I said, it just evolved into so many different things, as looking at women as whole people, and not just as a caregiver, that they had needs, they had emotions that they needed to process, they had relationships that they needed to heal. And as I was going along, I was meeting, everywhere I went, I would meet a senior citizen that would just literally just grab onto my shoulder. I was like this magnet, because I love them so much. Like, I'll sit for hours and talk to, to elders. And what started happening was that they were sharing these beautiful, beautiful, heartfelt stories, kind of in the genre of, what would I tell my younger self? What have I learned? What wisdom do I have to share? And then just backtracking, I remember when I was a very, very young girl, I had gone to visit my grandmother in a nursing home, and I thought I was going to see, pretty flowers and wallpaper and pillows and all this, and they were all lined up in the hallway and just sitting there with their heads down. And I always remember that, saying to myself, one day I'm going to do something about that. And then I went on with life. I got married, I had children, all of that.
Right.
And then when I was taking care of my mom, it came back to me. So what Renee and I are working on, which is near and dear to my heart, is Pearls of Wisdom. It's going to be, so where we're starting right now is on my website. I have a workbook that I created for families just to pop on. It's downloadable. You print it out, you fold it, and there are journal prompts on there, and beautiful, heartfelt questions that they can get them talking, and, let them feel like the contribution that they are. instead of just sitting there waiting for what's next, waiting to go to heaven, waiting to transition, let's get their messages out. Because when I see somebody who's elderly, I don't see an old person. I see
Yeah.
somebody's son. I see somebody's daughter. I
Right.
see somebody's mother, somebody's father. I see a human being, and these people, I get so emotional because I'm so passionate about it. These beautiful souls have so much wisdom to impart to us. And just, getting it down on paper and leaving it as a legacy for our families is what's near and dear to my heart. So that's, the encapsulated version of, what we're working on and where we're going with this. Yeah.
I'll never forget my father when I used to own a deli in Hawthorne. It was one of the biggest delis. And my dad used to walk the senior citizens home to their apartment building, which was next door. And he came back one time and he said, I guess he was about 65, 67, 60, somewhere around there when he was working for me in the deli. We were working together in the deli. And he said, I asked her, like, how does it feel to be 80 years old? How does it feel? And she looked at him, and he was carrying her groceries home for her. So and he as well loved to interact with what he called them wisdom. He called their information wisdom, that you can learn so much from a senior citizen. But he asked this elderly woman, 80, which is not elderly anymore in this environment. But he asked her, what does it feel like to be 80 years old? And she said, my body feels, my mind is, I'm 20 years old, and that I haven't aged a day, but my body can't keep up anymore. And I always try to think about that, like, as I get older, because I'm 57 years old. I think I'm 57, and I forget how old I am. And I think to myself, like, do I feel? How do I feel? How did that 80-year-old woman feel when she was 80? And the truth is, I can understand her mindset in Kelly and Judy, because I don't feel 57. I have this energy and this spirit to just bring life to people. And I just heard a song, and I'm gonna start to learn it. ReneMarie did it with her daughter, and it's "Let There Be Love, Let There Be Light." Aunt Kelly and Ann and Judy, you would love that song. You would love that song, and it is a great. And I'm gonna learn it because it sends a
I
message.
haven't heard that one.
It's beautiful. I'll
I
send it
remember
to
it
you
from a
guys.
while ago. Yeah,
I'll
long
send it to
while
you
ago.
both, all three of you, as a text message, just so you could get a little inspired. And that's the truth. We all need to love each other. So, Anne, you're doing such wonderful work with this Pearls of Wisdom, and our connection is going to be that we're going to go to these locations, and we're going to have them tell their story. Have them tell their
Absolutely.
story.
That's,
But
we created that a while ago, but I believe that when you create something and make a declaration, then it just, God just puts all the pieces in
yeah,
place.
yeah.
So I want to share, if I can, just a very short story about an elderly gentleman. I think he was in his 90s, very late 90s, when he shared this with me. So I was very upset, and I went to the beach, and I said, either I'm going to be angry all day, or I'm going to go to the beach, and I'm just going to walk this out. So I was upset about an area of my life, and I got to the beach, and I said, you know what? I choose faith. I choose faith. I know God's going to work this out. I go sit down on my bench. A couple of minutes later, this elderly gentleman and his aide walk over. Can we sit down next to you? And that's God was like, boom, here you go. So I start talking to this gentleman, and he's adorable. He's flirting with me. He's telling me war stories. He's giving me all this information. And he says to me, do you want to know the secret to being happy? I was like,
Yes.
yeah, dish that. Like, yeah, come on. Come on, buddy. Let's go. Let's have at it. So he says, get a little closer. So I'm like, okay, what's the secret to being happy? And he tells me, Renee, the secret to being happy is to be happy first. Oh, if
Yeah.
that's not a pearl of wisdom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't wait for the thing or the title or the money or the relationship or the house or everything to
Yeah.
be perfect to be happy. You be happy first, and then everything will fall into place. And that's when it just connected. That's when it just, I was like, pearls of wisdom.
Wow.
This is amazing. So that was definitely, God will take what's not working in your life, in my belief, and work it out for your good and for somebody else's good. Like Judy said earlier, she said about being of service. I figure, what did you say, Judy? How did it go?
Service, the Rotary statement is service above self.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
be community minded, to do things locally, nationally, and internationally to help other people's lives, to make them better. And
Beautiful.
that's what my dad did, and he was president of his Rotary Club back in 1956, 57. I went to a lot of meetings. Later on, I became a member of Rotary. I moved up to president and assistant district governor, and I had an international project that I started giving medical equipment, dental and medical equipment to various places overseas that desperately needed it.
Wow. That's
Wow, Judy,
amazing.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wouldn't expect anything less than that from Judy.
That's why we're blessed to have her working on our
We are.
foundation.
We are.
And the truth is, people are like, oh, I'm so sorry to bother you 20 times a day. And I'm like, no, I need you to stay on top of me. I need you to ask me questions. I need you to call me. I need you to text me. I need you to email me. And that's what my board does. That's what Judy does. That's what they do. Because I'm trying to juggle 20 million things, and I couldn't do it without the team around us.
I think it would be good
Okay.
for Judy to tell how she connected us, Renee, because it's all her fault.
Yeah, yeah. Well, wait, just give me 2 seconds. I do want to get to Kelly.
Of course, of course.
Judy, I'm going to let you say that story in a few minutes.
Okay.
I want to talk to Kelly, but I do want to share a story as well. And I had the same occurrence one day. I was really in a dark place. And like, I don't know if it was so much dark, but it was just a whirlwind of unknown after my stroke. I didn't know, like, and that's why I can understand someone who suffers a stroke. When I look in their eyes, I can understand that uncertainty and then unknown, and the feeling that they feel that they don't know where they belong, or what just happened, or what they're supposed to be doing, or like I could just see it. So I went to the park one time as well. And I know you went to the beach. I went to the park, and I was walking around. I was dizzy, and this guy just came to me. And the funny thing is, he's on my email blast. And this must have happened like 15 years ago. And we're still connected to this day. Like, I took his email, and once in a while he messages me like, just want to let you know you're doing great work. But it was out of the blue. Like, he was just there as a messenger from God. And, when I need to hear some good stuff, and I get in that whirlwind again, he comes to me and he sends me a message or email. And we're so blessed to have that faith and know that it is a God thing, that he is coming. So, Kelly, welcome.
Hi. How are you?
What's that?
How are you?
I'm good. So, first of all, you and I have been, emailing and texting back and forth, and so how is your mom? And I thought that while Anne was talking about the download that you can make from her website, like, that'd be a great thing for you to do for your mom, so that she could start getting her story on paper.
Well, funny you would say that, because it has been action-packed, as we are still moving forward to finalizing my sister becoming her final POA. And the shutdown has been difficult for seniors everywhere. My mom has an apartment in an assisted living that also has nursing home, memory care, all its factions. But this shutdown has exacerbated the dementia for many. My mom is a tough old broad that maybe 3 times I ever saw her cry in my whole life. And she's broken down quite a bit. Just because we can't go in, we can't see her, we can't take her out. You know, we trade off, my sister and I, talking on the phone a lot. And
Can I block you for one thing? Because we didn't know that she was put in a location. That's something,
right.
That's something new to us. So share with us the decision on.
Well, I'll tell you that Dementia Sucks and Tracy Lauren, you know, her book, and you cannot do this alone. And I will say that it also can bring about challenges with family in making those types of tough decisions, because my mom lived at my house for a year, and I tried to get her to come with us from Virginia to Pennsylvania, and no, I'm going back to Oklahoma where I know everybody. So now my sister is close by to her in Missouri, and we found, we went through a lot of things in Tracy's book, you know, reading through that, because you don't know what you don't know. You've never been down that road before. You really need someone who can share, you know, very specific details of things to do to protect and safeguard your parent. So we found a really nice small facility, has a nice apartment, and her wall is covered with every amazing picture that has a saying of positivity that it takes her hours to go through and read them all. And yet she'll take them off the wall and give some to someone, a staff member or something that needs something positive. Yeah. So she's in that really nice place. And when I said, funny you'd say, you know, you spend a lot more time talking and discussing, and, you know, I love to let her tell about her life stories that she recalls and remembers, because she's not, if you talk to her, you wouldn't see dementia. You wouldn't sense it. It's after a couple of hours of, you know, talking and repeating and frustration. But in this, I've decided to write her life story, because her stories are, you couldn't make it up. And some, a lot aren't flowery. And, you know, they were some tough, you know, times. She was a single parent on many occasions, and many things happened that I'm not sure all my sisters and all are okay with. You know, there were some tough things that came about in our lives. And one of the things that I was able to gift to her before her stroke and the dementia was her first husband was a veteran killed in the line of duty when she had 2 young children, 2 and 4 years old. She never knew the details. He was parachuting in Germany, so she never knew the details. And I was able to get all that information and go through it with her. So she had a really great closure to understanding, you know, it was a criminal investigation. It was very sad, but that was a part in her life that she recalls, because it set things off from there, being, you know, widowed with 2 young children, and her life from there, you know, she struggled a lot with things. But I think she's doing well. I'm looking into maybe bringing her here. We're going to look, you know, and it may be that she
permanently with the nursing home.
Yes. So I am looking at options and facilities, because my house wouldn't meet her needs. I don't think that it would, because of stairs and all. And I found that so each time I've gone for a visit, my sister coordinates an event at the assisted living. So there's a party of some kind, and everyone's invited into the dining room. And at that point too, I get to talk to all of the seniors there, and I love that. I lived in Florida, so I lived in a high-rise
Yeah.
condo filled with seniors that had stories that are awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm right there with, I totally agree that I could sit for hours and hear, and they have been the kindest, sweetest, people that you'd ever want to know and only wish you knew them, 30 years ago. They're just beautiful people. And so, yep, I'm embarking on its time while she is here and can be a part of it to tell her story and her stories. And wow,
Well,
definitely
if I could just offer
interesting.
something to you, Kelly, also besides the downloadable workbook, there's an opportunity. If you go to my website, there's an opportunity to contact me, and we can put your mom's story or a photo on the blog, and do
Hmm.
it that way as well.
Hmm.
So
And
just
I
Yes.
was, and I was thinking that we could also, if this is possible or whatever way we can make it possible, is to have her via Zoom and to do a pearls of wisdom with her via
Yeah.
Zoom.
yeah.
So
Great
that
idea.
way we don't, it's not so overwhelming that we got to set up with the camera and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if your sister or they're allowing anybody in, but we could do it a Zoom with her
I'm
and do pearls of
hoping
wisdom.
I'm hoping by July my daughter and I are going out mid-July for I'm a witness in the final hearing for her power of attorney. So I'm hoping to I'm going to want to put her on video, going through many of her stories and things.
Right,
So,
right. And we'd love to Zoom with her
okay.
to really hear her story.
Definitely. It's an interesting one, which, so many, I have a hard time imagining that how she made it through some really tough times. And we did too. Each of us, the different times in her life that, it was tough. We had been homeless. We've experienced everything. And she was a mom that never quit, never gave up. Those were her pearls of wisdom that I told my teenage daughter. I still hear my mom's voice. I can hear it, and that's what I want to gift to you. You'll still hear my voice for years and years to come. That, never give up, keep pushing through. And my mom is the caregiver in her facility. So
Wow.
she is known for, we had to have a Zoom meeting with some of the regional managers and things just to cover some issues that were happening. And they said, your mom helps our girls fold all the towels.
Wow.
She rolls all the silverware. She comes in at the end of the evening and sweeps the dining room floor. And you can't stop her. I mean, and they said, and we know that, we're like, can we pay you? Or, she's like, nope, this is my job. This is what I'm doing. And it helps the young ladies who are here cleaning our rooms and, washing our clothes and everything. And she just goes around that place and tries to help everyone else there.
That's
And
beautiful.
that's her therapy. That
Wow.
is.
That's the truth, we just gotta all allow people. That's what I love about when you're in the right place. People allow you to do your gift. And
Mhm.
sometimes your gift is helping someone. Sometimes it's allowing people to help you, which, I had to learn that lesson. I was,
She's not great in that area, but because she is so independent and she, can't drive now. And, and like I said, the lockdown for many people has taken a real toll on their mental health.
yeah.
And seniors especially being shut in and not being able to go places or have their family see them. And they've done beautiful parades, for the seniors to let them sit outside and see their family go by. And that's been really great.
Wow.
The
Mom is an
drive-by.
inspiration, Kelly. I mean, just she is a blessing, and she is such an inspiration. Yeah, yeah.
And you,
She
you
makes
think,
us
And you think, you say she's, what did you say she was? She's, what did you say? She's hard-headed, or she's,
Oh, she's a tough old broad.
yeah. Well, and the reason I wanted to point out is, if you think of her history, being
Yeah.
a single mom with 2 young children, she had to get herself that way.
Yeah.
She had to. That's how she fought her way.
Yeah.
He
Because if
went
she
through a
didn't,
lot.
yeah, because if she didn't, nobody was going to help her. And
Mhm.
the truth is, and I've learned the same, is you got to help yourself. You
Yeah.
got to help yourself.
Yeah.
And I believe you got to do it through the grace of God, and you have to do things correctly.
Mhm.
But you do have to help yourself, because, and sometimes that's the lesson you have to learn, is you
Yeah,
have
it's
to
a
help yourself.
partnership. It's a partnership between, your higher power, your God, and yourself. And it's that choice in that moment. Like, okay, I can lay down and be a doormat and just, cave into what life has given me, or I can
Mhm.
take that challenge and I can recreate it and turn it into something beautiful, which your mom clearly has done. I mean, she is a role model and an inspiration.
Yeah. So I'm the middle child, and there's two younger than me, so there's five of us. And so my role was a co-parent in many capacities
Wow.
when, you know, and so that molded me and my future of giving me strength and the willpower and the ability to push through anything. And the things that we push through as a family, as a team, the tough struggles, it made all of us who we are today. And she's just like the Energizer bunny, just doesn't want to stop. And I love her to death. I believe without question, she's going to be around for a while, because she's ornery and she's determined, and she's not done with her bucket list.
That's good. That's a good thing. That's
God
a good
bless her.
thing. That's a
God
good
Yeah.
thing.
bless her. Yeah, that's
You know
wonderful.
what I was thinking about when you were saying that you're writing your mother's story, and that some of your, they're not. Some of them are not good stories.
They're
Some of
not
them are good.
flowery,
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
And
yeah.
actually, it's a bit of therapy for me, because her stories are my stories, and we talked about, and I shared something with you that's coming about. But I think about, from that moment on, when her husband was killed and she had her two young children, my older brother and sister, who have now passed away. Um, every decision and every right and left turn that she made, made the difference of, I loved that, we're one in a million chance of being born, that every choice, even though I might stand back and say, maybe that wasn't the best choice that she made, and it made it harder. But I might not have ever been born if she didn't make the next
Right,
choice and the
right.
next choice.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and so every bit of it, I've never been ashamed or embarrassed, or, if anything that came about, I see it as a journey that we all as a family made it through. And then we went forward, the job of a parent, to raise their children and send them out into the world. And each of the things in our life then come back around, that we're able to go through and share, with her. It's just I'm glad I'm meeting you, Anne, and I'm so blessed to have met Renee in our strange way, that, it was as if
It was a hard way, right?
It was a hard
way.
We were going through
Yeah.
something tough then.
It was like, and
We were
it was
thrown into the pot, the hot
yeah.
pot. We were swimming in
That's right.
pan.
But that's the beauty of it, though, right? That's
Yeah.
the beauty of it. We meet people, probably in some times in our lives, like I said, either a lesson or a blessing. And it's like, you don't realize it when you're going through it. And then at the end of it, you're like, that's why I had to meet Judy, and that's why I had to meet Renee.
Yeah.
And also, Kelly, just like, when you are in the process of taking your parents' story down, it really helps you as an adult child, because
Mhm.
it gives us an opportunity. We look at our parents and we have them on a pedestal. They're our role models,
Mhm.
and then it really gives us the opportunity to see them as human beings,
That's
not
a
just a
person.
role of
Mhm.
mother, but as women. When my mother had passed away, I was going through her things and I found, those little autograph books, and I found a note in there that she had hopes and dreams and aspirations. I'm going to cry again. She wanted to be a fashion designer. I
Yeah.
never knew that about my mother. I knew she was a seamstress. I knew that she worked in the factories. But when I
Wow.
saw that, Kelly, I got so present to my mom was a woman with desires and
Yeah.
Mhm.
passions. She wasn't just my mom. And
Yeah.
it's so much bigger than that, because when I got present to that she was a human being, a woman with passions and desires, I was able to release her as my mother.
Yeah.
And I found
Wow.
so much peace in her passing and in my
Mhm.
grieving
Yeah.
for her, when I recognized that she didn't belong to me only.
Mhm. Oh
She
no,
belonged to
my
God, she belonged to the
yeah.
earth.
My mother belongs to, she has made a difference in so many people's lives. I would never be able to find all of them, but each person, you know, my mom would literally give you the shirt off her back. And she has literally through her life. In fact, I haven't told her, I want to be there to let her know, a woman we knew years ago, single mom with three beautiful boys. And very poor, and we were too. She just passed away, but she did so much. And I see she was just someone just like my mom. My mother, we didn't have a lot, but she found a way to hand off and do for anyone, anytime. If she didn't have the resource, she spent hours and hours at the American Legions trying to help veterans, just encouraging, through church events. And, she saw
Wow.
you in need. She was going to find a way. If she didn't have it, she was going to find somehow. And, that's who I am today.
Yeah.
So when you go by the mirror and you see your mother in the mirror, I'm glad that I see her heart
Well, that's
too
her
in
legacy,
you.
Kelly. That's her
Yeah,
legacy that she left not only for the
it
world,
is.
but for her family, right? That's her legacy. And
Yes.
how can you package that? That's priceless. That
Yeah.
is so priceless,
It's so
Kelly.
beautiful when someone will reach out and say, your mom was such a blessing to us. She was so sweet. She helped us during, a tough time. And people have done that. Some, Facebook has kind of opened, some of that up, that people reach out to. So, and our story is still ongoing at this time. So she's still got a great living story. And that's why I'm so glad. I don't want to wait till she's gone, because
Right.
I feel like there's still things happening. Like the past is coming back into um, opening things up. And I
Right.
do feel like I want to help her continue to do some things while she can, and we stay close by to her for her health reasons. But there's some things that she wants to do. She is desperate to get out and do things for people. That is her lifeblood, her mission. She
What a
wants to
beautiful
help.
heart. What a
And
beautiful
and
heart.
what you're saying, Kelly, is exactly. I mean, you have the ability and the knowledge to start this process, the Pearls of Wisdom process.
Mm-hmm.
But Ann and I would love to help those that
Mhm.
don't have that ability.
Yes.
Some of us, that's our gift. Some of it's not, and we want to be able to share with everybody to do exactly what you're saying, to leave their legacy, as
Mm-hmm.
Ann says, to
Well, and
everybody.
leave it to, so my next door neighbor's mom has passed, and last year, and that was just so hard. We just ran to them to be there and all. And they have a daughter, my daughter's age. And so that's an amazing thing to do, because there are things to capture. Like I was speaking to someone the other night that said they were up in the attic and they found this book of things from the mother and never realized, just how many books, it was a bunch of books, and that
Right.
she had read all those books
Wow.
and they just had no idea. So it's a discovery, and it is, I think it's incredibly healing that it helps to go through that grieving process because my husband's father, passed away in the line of duty. And that is my other passion, that I've been gathering his stories. And we're fortunate that there are people that when he passed, have told us stories that none of us ever had any idea about even.
Yeah. And the
And
other piece of it too is that, like, just going through my own family history. I mean, my father had a traumatic life. It was horrific. And going through that family history gives me an understanding of my relationship with my father and how he did the
Yeah.
best he could with the little bit that he had known. So he just came from his generational trauma and did the best that he could. I have
Right.
so much empathy for him now and so much understanding. And,
Yeah.
I before my father had passed away, I had all these stories in my head that, Dad was so harsh and he was so cold and it was about me and, I wasn't lovable and all this nonsense that I didn't realize that my father was brought up in an orphanage. His dad left when my grandmother was pregnant. She fell down the stairs. She lost her child. All the children went into different homes. He was in the war. I mean, it was horrific, right? So
Wow.
doing this work, I came to an understanding that it wasn't about me. Is that my father had a heart full of love, but had horrible experiences underneath him. So when he was passing away, I went up to the hospital and I spoke to my dad and I said, listen, I just want you to know that you did the best that you possibly could for me as a father. And the
Yeah.
last thing he said to me, he said, I was wondering. He says, I hope so, because I really was wondering. And I said, Dad, you don't have to wonder anymore, because now you know. That was our last conversation. So opening up this work to me is very, very personal. It's very,
Yeah.
very near and dear to my heart. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, too, is not every elderly person has children, has families, has their spouse.
Right.
And even if they do, they may not be in a situation where they can do this work because they're working. Women are going through menopause, taking care of their children. The kids are leaving the nest. They're taking care of their parents, and so there's only so much that you can give. So much time.
I
So
just wanted to add that when my dad was in the nursing home, the third year that he was there, we went out into the garden, sat at a table, and I videotaped many stories about his life. I asked him questions about things that had happened to him, and I have it all on tape.
Wow.
However, it's very hard for me to watch it right now.
Oh,
we're ready. When
That's
you're ready, it'll
amazing.
happen.
But I think, I listened to all your stories, and, and I think one of the messages from this show, and it had nothing to do with the title of the show, is that we don't own our parents. Our parents were just the vessel for us to get here on earth. And they do love us in the only way they know how, the best way they know how. Parents, because you're a parent, does not make you perfect.
Right.
It does not make you perfect in
You're
anything.
human.
We're human.
Yeah.
Human. So I think that's, a message that came forth from this show, is that, and we hope that it helped, because I think that's a healer for a lot of people, right?
Yes.
That they
It's not
wonder-
just simply getting the story down, putting it on paper. Of course, it's that. Yes, it's
Yeah.
the legacy, but it's this deep healing work of getting to see our parents as people, as human beings, seeing their pain and seeing how they chose to take that pain and that trial and turn it into triumph, and how hard it really was for them. They're coming from the Great Depression with their parents behind them. They're coming from war. I mean, they had a really hard life.
Yeah,
You know?
and everybody will remember, and Judy remembers because Judy was there. We did two shows or three shows with my mother on her story. That she had a brain. It was in a very bad car accident when she was 14, and she had she had a brain injury, and a week after, she was kind of pushed back into going back into school, into singing, because back then they had no idea the effect. And really, it took her a long time to heal herself, heal her mind, because I know, having suffered a stroke, that your brain gets combobulated. And you don't see that because it's not on the outside. So I guess, and this is just a perception, that I guess when her wounds started to heal, they're like, okay, she's okay, let's just send her back to school. And they expected her to sing a week later. So I can't even imagine being in that place to how she felt, because to me, it took me a long time to process and to understand that, to put the pieces together for my brain. Like, I had to love myself. I had to be able to, I always talk about that bridge from someone who suffered a stroke to the reality of what we should be doing. How do we get from this part to that? How do we get there? Like, how do you get there? We believe in my foundation, and I strongly believe that love is the answer. That, love helps you to heal. That's why when Dominic Cordelesa came into my life, he knew how, because he was a gentleman that worked for corporate America, and he knew how to work with people. And he didn't know what actually had happened to me. He had no idea. It was through the process that he learned, but he was doing his corporate work in helping me to be successful. And it gave me the tools that I needed to understand myself, and I always remember one of the things he said to me was, I would say, he would tell me something and he goes, okay, no problem, we'll come back to that. I'll come back tomorrow and we'll revisit it. And he didn't put the pressure on me to answer him right away. So that kind of like, okay, all right, let me think. And me being me, I was like, I went home and I went, and then he come back tomorrow and I go, okay, like I thought about it. No, let's talk about it again tomorrow. So he kind of helped me to build that bridge in how to, going from a stroke and how to get back to the reality and put my feet back on the ground. And he did it in a way that was very stable, but he also was pulling me up to right. Like I wasn't allowed to stay in that hole anymore. I was supposed to get up with him.
Absolutely. And a lot of times too, Renee, like a lot of the women that I speak with that are family caregivers, they don't understand the concept that there's the ebb and flow, the divine ebb and flow of love is in the giving and receiving. Because women who are it's always like that one person in the family of 3, 4, 6 that steps in and takes that role and completely takes over and just gives and gives and gives, and they don't understand that there's a disconnect in that bridge. So right. It's in the giving and the receiving, because when you allow somebody to give to you and you receive, you're doing a service to them. You're allowing them to give God to you. At the same time, you're allowing to give God to the person that you're caring for.
But I will tell you, hang on one second, Judy. I will tell you that another factor in suffering a stroke, because it's only what I could speak about, is that you're combobulated. So you have to be able to trust that person. So that trust, that fact that he never put pressure on me, and he kept, we'll come back tomorrow. Like I trusted he was coming back tomorrow. I trusted he wasn't putting pressure on me. And he took the time to build a trust factor between us so that we could, then I could open up. I call it like peeling an onion. You have to peel that onion back. I peeled that onion back to be able to say, okay, like I'm open to learn what I have to do. But it takes a long time. It's not something that you could just go from a stroke to knowing. It just doesn't happen. So
what a beautiful soul. What a blessing that to have him in your life.
And I need it. And really quickly,
everybody should have somebody like that in their life.
I know. And I quit. God took me from, I'm going to say this, I didn't quit. God took me from the best job in the entire world. I was a food I had the best job. I was and they were a wonderful company, Pumptonian Food Service. I love them. and it was a
You
food
went
service
from the
director.
best to the worst,
Yes. Well, no, no, no,
and then
no,
back to the best.
no, 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 no. I didn't go from the best to the worst. But anyway, it was for Pontonian Food Service. It was a food service director job where I'd work all year, but then I get laid off during the summertime. I get laid off at Christmas time. I get laid off in a winter break and summer break. So you worked really hard. So it was like it was really a great job. It was a great job. But God said, no, you have to, and now that it's afterwards, God said, no, I want you to go meet Dom. So I had to leave. So I actually blacked out at work one day, and I heard him saying to me, "Nope, I don't want you to go back. Nope." And I'm being me. Nobody's gonna tell me, what to do. And I went back to work, and he just made it harder and harder. And I just spoke to my boss. I said, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do this anymore. So then I went from that to something else, but I have no idea what. Oh, I worked for Wanacue. A few weeks later, was hired in Wanacue. So
And look at you now.
but thank God that I believe in God and I trust in God and I listen to God, even though sometimes I put up a fight. Now I put up less of a fight because now I know I don't have a choice. Take me, do what you want with me. Like that's why I always tell everybody I work for God.
It's
Not
called
for people.
surrender. It's called
Yeah,
surrender for a reason.
I work for
Renee,
God. Judy, go ahead. I'm
before we
sorry.
run out of time,
I know you want to tell your story. I
I
know.
wanted to tell the story so Kelly and the
Oh,
audience
it's
would know.
11:11.
I know we've
It
been talking for an hour. Sorry,
the
Jim.
end. It was the end of one of our shows, one of our ReneMarie Stroke of Luck shows. In the final moments, you mentioned about your knee operation coming up in about another week or so. And you said, Judy, you've been a caregiver. I want you to do an entire show, find a speaker also, and the two of you will do an entire show on caregiving. And I said, oh my God.
I was announcing to the world that she was going to be doing a show before I even asked her.
I was with Nancy McGreeny at the time, and we looked at each other, and I drove home thinking about it. And I said, well, before I get all involved in this, let me read the newspaper. And I opened a local newspaper, and there it was, a story about Anne and her caregiving and her journals and everything she was doing. And Anne, you want to mention what happened with the scheduled show and then how we followed up?
Oh my goodness, yeah, I show up at the studio and this is like thunderstorm, right? There's like this crazy storm and I show up there and she's trying to call me on my house phone. She's trying to call me on my cell phone, but my cell phone's not picking up the call because I have the GPS on. And I get there and there's a note on the door. It says, what did the note say? It's
The
like
note said that they lost electricity.
they lost power.
I found out moments before I left the house to go to the studio, and I was frantic to call you, and I couldn't call you, and I said to the first person at the studio that left me the message, please put a note on the door, and it didn't seem like they were going to do it, and then I called someone else. I said, I need someone to put a note on the door. She's going to get there before me.
And I did. And I think the intention behind that was like divine intervention, that Renee and I were supposed to connect and we were supposed to
Yes,
meet,
and then
and
later
that's how it was
on,
supposed to happen.
after Renee had the operation and everything, we had the show rescheduled, and we were all able to get together and do a show on caregiving and to
Yes.
highlight our star.
And Renee, I just want to mention really quick that so on my website, theinspiredlivingnetwork.com, I created a course. It's called the Compassion Course for Caregivers. It's complimentary. You'll find it in the tab for inspirational courses. We talk about self-care. We talk about facilitating the family meeting. There are safety checklists. There are a whole bunch of checklists, safety checklists for your parents, self-care checklists, facilitating the family meeting checklist. So there's that. Then we have the downloadable book, which is it's a little workbook, like a mini Pearls of Wisdom. You'll find that on there. That's a freebie. If anybody is interested in getting their parents' story up, putting a picture or a memory, a quote, a story, whatever they want, just send me an email and I'll send you the information, and we can put that up on our blog, and we can put it up on social media. I'm hoping by the end of this year to have a book, a legacy journal book out. I'm hoping to put family recipes, letters to my daughter, letters to my son, journal prompts, a whole bunch of good stuff like
And you
that.
also are working on promoting family, brothers and sisters getting along and having harmony
That's in
during
my book,
caregiving.
Joyful Journaling for the
Yeah.
Caregiver Spirit. We talk
Very
about that in
important.
the course, how to just leave your 4-year-old self out in the hallway and bring, I call it the us, urgent subject, to the table. And you put on your executive suit, you put that on the table, so that's all part of the compassion course. So there's a whole bunch of free stuff on there, and yeah, and so Renee and I look toward toward the future about going into facilities and just doing these little mini interviews and giving the recordings to the family as as a service. So yeah, so that's there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and I'm also working with a software developer. It'll be a couple of years down the road, maybe a year or whenever God wants, that we're going to send this software out filled with journal prompts, and the family can fill it out, send it back, and then we can turn it into their own personal legacy book. So it'll be
It's a great idea.
easy, 1, 2, 3 steps. So we've got a lot coming from our heart that we're working on. So.
And we can take care of anything with God's help.
With God, all things are possible.
With God, all things are possible.
Yes.
Kelly, I know we have to go in a few minutes. Right, Jim? Jim, can you unmute yourself?
Hey, Renee.
Do we have a few extra minutes?
Sure.
Okay, just about 5 or 10 minutes, if that's okay.
No problem.
And do you have another show afterwards?
Nope.
Okay, just about 5 more minutes. Thanks. Kelly, I know that really quickly that when you initially were, and this is an important piece, initially, your mother first had a stroke, you were totally against putting her in a nursing home. Right?
No.
I remember, I think when we were on the phone with Kelly or Tracy, you were like, no, that's not really our first option. And Tracy's like, never say no because.
Well, the challenge was that she had lived with me, and what really pushed us towards it was the doctor saying that. So my mom, when they did all the testing, they said she's been having these silent brain strokes for probably 20 years.
Wow.
Which, like, I took a deep breath and like, oh my goodness. And he said, she can't be alone. She was so used to her, doing her own thing, coming and going, her own apartment. And he said, we've got to monitor blood pressure, and she cannot live alone. And at that point, my mom, we just felt like, for one, we could get her a nice apartment and filled with other people, but if she wanted to do her own thing, she could close her door. And because it was a challenge, my sister actually did go through, while we were looking to find what we could feel comfortable with, she stayed with my sister, and having caregivers, that was a real challenge. In fact, I'm finding through this process, I'm really stepping back and looking at other people that would be in our position of, facilities are incredibly expensive. And I'm really thinking about, is there an in-between living in our home with caregivers coming, and then going to a senior assisted, apartment, which is an explosive amount, it's somebody's, monthly paycheck, the entire, it's incredible. And her money doesn't quite meet it all. So my sister and I 2 out of the 3 of us do contribute to make that difference. So there's a part of me that's kind of watching, looking, thinking, we're not the only family in this position.
Right.
So is there something in between at home, stay, in a home? She doesn't have one. So if we had to have 24-hour care or even, 15-hour care, 12-hour, the costliness. But I can see with her living in our home while we're still working and all of that, it leaves her with just with a caregiver. So I'm looking for, what are some other solutions for families, that there's a niche, there's something missing, there's a hole, and I'm trying to figure out
Do you
how
have a social worker to help you with all of that?
Kelly's
No.
the social worker.
I'm the social worker.
Yeah, I know. I filled that role. But I mean, here in New York, we do have a program that fills in the gap, but I don't know if they have the same program.
And that's why I'm looking at, she's in Missouri, and now I'm going to look through Pennsylvania and see what, is available. But like I said, too, I've reached out, like I said, Tracy Lawrence's book was phenomenal. Things that, what resources are out there, because I know I don't know everything. I haven't ever been down this road before, and I don't want to.
There's a resource here in New York. I don't know if it's available in other states or what it would be called, but you can look into it. It's CDPAP. CDPAP.
Okay.
And what it is that it's a compensation for family members to be able to give that care to their loved ones, let's say overnight or evenings, and there's compensation for it. So it's a little something,
Right.
a little something. So
And that's just it. I'm gathering resources, talking to people.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's, our seniors deserve, the fullest, best possible. I have some things I want to surprise my mom with when we go out and visit that I know she has always wanted to do, and those types of things that make her just bring her the greatest joy. And I want her life to be full to the very last minute.
absolutely.
She's physically capable. She has her daughters and us around. I just do. I want her to have some real serious happiness. And one of those things right now on her list is to have a little dog. So we're working on that.
Nice.
And I do think that'll help.
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off, but I promised Jim we'd keep
Time
it
to go.
to 5 minutes. But Kelly, why don't you spell your name so that people could Facebook you if they have any source for you, or if you feel comfortable in giving your email address, you could do that as well. So
it's Kelly with an I, Kelli, and it's Grim, Grim. In between, so Kelly Grimm, but there's, a middle, maiden name in there. But my email is Kelly with an I, Marie 100 @gmail.com.
it's not kellygrim@gmail.com anymore?
Well, it is, but that's
Okay.
not. So I'm keeping Kelly Marie 100 for all of this.
Okay, so Kelly Marie 100. And that's funny. It's ReneMarie and Kelly Marie. I never
There you
got
go.
that.
Kelly, I have a list of resources that I can email you, but most of them are pertinent to New York, but I'll just send you whatever I have. And if there's like little maybe keywords that are in there that you can
Lead
plug
me to
into
something else. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so
you're right.
just-
Every state is different.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
now I'm looking in Pennsylvania for things, and so that might help me then look better,
Right.
smarter.
Yeah.
Give you an idea.
And we could, Judy, why don't we set this conversation to continue since we have so much to talk about, maybe next month or the month after?
Certainly, I will call everybody and give you the available dates.
Okay. And
Awesome.
then, Ann, I want to give you the opportunity to share your email and your website and your contact information.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the inspiredlivingnetwork.com, and it's info at Ann Agueli, and that's ANNAGUELI.com. And you can reach me there. You just go on the website, the inspiredlivingnetwork.com, and all over the website is, contact me.
Thank you so much, both of you. Judy, of course, I'm so happy to, finally have you on Zoom Live.
I feel the same way. And this particular subject is wide open. There's so many more areas to cover. So I'm glad we're going to do further shows on it.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, we could talk for hours and hours, but I don't want to disrespect him because what's that?
Jim, you have nothing else to do, right?
No,
I love you guys.
He's got a life. Jim's got a life.
No, I'm not.
As Dr. Mike was saying on the other show, we respect everybody's life. But, Judy, I don't know if you have this in front of you, but I know Mark McEwen is on our next show.
Yes, he is.
Mark McEwen, a great guy.
I believe is on our second show. I had it.
Yes, and I know there's someone on our first show. I don't have it in front of me.
1 second. Oh, we have a doctor on our first show.
Do you have it?
I have it here somewhere.
I know. I surprised you with that. Sorry.
No,
she's always surprising, Judy.
I knew I was going to mention it. However,
I just forgot these words. It's not my fault. I am just a vessel.
The doctor that's going to be on, I do not know how to pronounce her name, but she she is a member of the board of ReneMarie's Pathways Stroke, and she's a board member, and her name starts with a C. My husband moved the paperwork.
Aha! The man behind the woman.
Now, I was wondering, I know I brought it in here. Her name is Dr. Jennifer CEO NZO, and the topic is vision after stroke. Very important topic. And that
we should invite Alicia. We should invite Alicia to be on that show since she had a TIA in her vision.
Yes, so it'll be July 12th. Dr. Jen, I'm just going to say Dr. Jen, I can't pronounce it. Vision after stroke. We'll talk to Alicia, and the 10 o'clock show will be with Mark McEwen. And the reason that's at 10 is he's out of town. And
he's in Orlando, in the Florida area. So he's a great guy, really good guy. So I can't wait to invite, talk to him. So thank you so much, both of you, for partnering with us and be our friends. And we're so blessed.
Thank you. So much gratitude. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly.
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a blessing. Judy, it's always a blessing. Jim, it's always a blessing. And of course, we're going to blow our kisses to everybody. Have a wonderful day. Life is a gift. Enjoy each and every single moment that you have to walk on this earth, because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring.
God bless you all.
You too, Judy.
We're going to blow our kisses. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
God
Bye-bye.
bless you all.
Yo no sé qué tú piensas, yo no sé lo que haré, yo no sé lo que estoy perdiendo, yo no sé lo que va a pasar. No me puedes escuchar llorar solo sin ti, no me puedes oír llorar. Día que caminaste por la puerta, todas las memorias fueron. Mi corazón está vacío, como si tú sin ti. No me puedes oír, no me